Welcome everyone. I am Dr. Tariq Mahmood, Associate Professor Medicine, Bosundhara Addin Medical College. Our today's topic is gout. As usual, we are doing a new things for last one or two lectures, dividing the lecture in three parts. For this lecture, our three segment will be like this. In first part, we will have an overview of the gout, some understanding what is gout. In the second part, how can we diagnose gout? That means investigations and other things. And in the final part, how we can treat gout or treatment of gout, and when to treat gout. So, first part overview, second part investigations, and third part treatment. So, what do we know about gout? First of all, this is an inflammatory arthritis. Again, this is an inflammatory arthritis. Usually occurs in elderly person, and usually male suffers more than female. The ratio is around 5:1. So, in case of inflammatory arthritis, gout is an exception perhaps, because as we have seen in elderly person, whenever there is an inflammatory arthritis, there is a female preponderance. On the other hand, actually in case of spondyloarthritis, there is also a male preponderance. So, what is the main pathophysiology of gout, or what is the main? The main thing is that there is an increased concentration of serum uric acid in the patient, and there is also a deposition of monosodium urate monohydrate crystals in the joint, which causes an inflammatory arthritis. So, if there is uric acid concentration is higher than normal, usually it is considered as normal range plus twice the standard deviation, that is called the higher range of uric acid. In that case, we may define the patient having higher level of uric acid or hyperuricemia. Hyperuricemia not necessarily always mean gout. Many person might have hyperuricemia, and most of the time that need not to be treated. A very minority of patients having hyperuricemia actually develop gout in their lifespan. So, having hyperuricemia is important. This is an indicator, but that does not mean that the patient has gout or need uric acid lowering agent. So, what is the source of this uric acid? This is a uric acid. If we see the source, the 1/3 is only from the exogenous source, that means from dietary source, and 2/3 is endogenous production. Our body have many kinds of metabolism, and with that uric acid is produced. So, this is a source of uric acid. What is this? One is diet and one is endogenous production, exogenous and endogenous. Only 1/3 is from exogenous sources and 2/3 is from endogenous sources, 1/3 is from exogenous sources. And what is the way of excretion? The way of excretion is 2/3 is through kidney and 1/3 is through gut. So, if we see if there is any discrepancies in these four sectors, say more dietary intake, that might be compensated if their excretion is normal. If more endogenous production for some reasons, and there is problem with the excretion, like if there is kidney disease or maybe gut related excretion is reduced. So, if we see in the broad terms, what are the causes of hyperuricemia? In broad terms, it is diminished renal excretion, increased intake, increased production. I think these three terms is very much important. Okay, we have already discussed it, but again, diminished renal excretion, increased oral intake, and increased production. So, what are the reasons behind diminished renal excretion? First of all, we can easily say the CKD, chronic kidney disease. Increased renal absorption due to tubular absorption due to any cause, lead toxicity, lactic acidosis, alcohol intake. There are some drugs which also inhibit renal excretion like thiazide diuretics, beta blockers, ACE inhibitors, low dose aspirins, cyclosporine, pyrazinamide. In the drug group, it would be nice if we remember this pyrazinamide, because these things very commonly came in the final prof, whether it's in the viva section or in the written or OSPE, the side effects of antitubercular drug. So, and for pyrazinamide, the most common side effect is gout. So, these drugs, sometimes we might remember this, we might ask about these things. So, how can we take increase intake? Increase intake, I think three things should be remembered. First of all, if we see diminished causes of diminished renal excretion, there is alcohol. So, this is another way. Actually, this is also an intake. We take this as a kind of drinks or food. So, if we consider alcohol in this, so there is only 2 to 3 or 4 items which actually increases the uric acid concentration, like what? Alcohol, red meat, seafood, and offals. And maybe games. Games mean the hunted animals, the wild animals that we take. We hunt and take the meat. So, what are the from which diet we can have a higher uric acid level? These are seafood, offal, red meat, and alcohol. Then seafood is seafood. Offals mean the liver, the pancreas, the kidneys, the brains, the lungs, the other things of an element other than the pure meat. And of course, there is red meat. So, extreme dietary restriction doesn't that much helpful for gout. We will go to this later, but these are the food that might increase the concentration of uric acid. What is the endogenous cause for the increased production, like myeloproliferative or lymphoproliferative disorder, psoriasis, high fructose intake, glucose storage disease, inherited disorder of metabolism. So, in this increased production sector, if we see in conditions where high cellular turnover take place, like myeloproliferative and lymphoproliferative disorders, we know in these conditions cellular turnover is raised very much. Say for WBCs, a lot of WBCs is produced, lot of WBCs is destroyed. So, uric acid concentration increases. Same goes for psoriasis. Psoriasis is also is a condition where cellular turnover increases. So, we can also talk about something about the uric acid metabolism, how this is metabolized. So, there is dietary purine and there is endogenous purine. Both is converted to inosine, then hypoxanthine. There is an enzyme known as hypoxanthine oxidase which converts things to xanthine, then xanthine to uric acid. Then uric acid is excreted through renal and intestinal route. The reason I am telling this pathway is that there is an enzyme known as hypoxanthine oxidase. So, there are some drugs which inhibits this pathway to reduce the production of uric acid. So, hypoxanthine oxidase inhibitors, those are hypoxanthine oxidase inhibitors. And there are also some drugs which causes increased excretion through renal pathway. So, before we end, there are the overview of the gout. There are some other crystal associated arthritis, some other crystal associated arthritis. Most common is monosodium urate monohydrate crystal deposition. For this crystal, we might say two kinds of gout. One is acute attack, acute recurrent attack. Another is chronic tophus deposition. Another is calcium pyrophosphate dehydrate crystal, for which there might be pseudo gout or chondrocalcinosis, and there might be basic calcium phosphate deposition. This might cause calcinosis. And there are some other uncommon crystals like cholesterol, calcium oxalate, extrinsic crystals, semi-crystalline particles. I think those things is not that much important. So, for part 1, the overview of gout, what we get to know from this part is that gout is a inflammatory arthritis with a male preponderance, occurring mainly in the elderly people, may be associated with other conditions. There might be an increased production, decreased excretion. This is main two causes of increased concentration of serum uric acid, which ultimately lead to monosodium urate monohydrate crystal depositions in the joints. So, and there is a pathway of excretion of uric acid from the body, from purine to uric acid, and there is an enzyme known as hypoxanthine oxidase, which is sometimes inhibited to decrease concentration of uric acid in the blood. So, this is so for overview for the part overview of gout part 1, that's all. Thank you everyone.